So I just submitted or hit the link and put it into the chat so you can follow along on the Nearpod. There we go. Now we've started recording. Good. So you can follow along in the Nearpod as we're going. Believe it or not, the block's basically over. Okay. Yeah, I'll try to go a little bit slower today. Let me go through everything. We don't have as much content to get through today, so we'll kind of go through there. So yeah, the block is basically over, and so let me tell you a couple things. Let me jump into the Nearpod real quick. I'm gonna share my screen with you. All right, so this, just so you know, guys, I mean, if you're a senior, this probably won't apply to you, but what's going to happen is this class is just part 1, okay? And so I'm hoping to get about 3 more classes that we're going to start with, like in a sequence. So I know it says criminology on your little thing, but this one's kind of like introduction to criminal justice. And then we will also be doing law enforcement, criminal law, and I think another class as well. Okay. So if you want to take those, they're not going to be offered until next school year, but just kind of keep those in mind if this is something kind of subject you like to take and it interests you more. There will also be like a test at the end of it, and if you pass it, you'll be able to get a certificate. It's called the CTE Pathways, and so I'm just kind of letting you know that. So as I said before, is it necessary to do part 2? No. So you'll get credit for this class, right? But if you want to do the next one, which I think is probably going to be law enforcement, we're going to go more into like what it's like to be a police officer. Hopefully you get some people to like interview and that kind of stuff. Then we'll go from there. Okay, a couple things here. If you miss the class, of course, it's going to be on the class announcements here. If we look at our course calendar, so today we have live class. Unit 6 will be due Monday. And then what will happen is the end of the block ends on the 18th. So you'll basically have a week and a half to catch up or get anything done. Okay. So make sure you do that. Today, what's going to happen, we're going to go over corrections is what it's called. So that's basically the prison system and parole, that kind of stuff. And there will be a quiz, and that's going to be what your assignment is for this week. Okay. So that is what we'll be doing. Okay, I'm going to put in here the Nearpod link. And you can go and click on that. Okay, so as I said, today is going to be talking about corrections. And we have the wonderful mugshot. I thought this is kind of interesting. Here are some, what are they? Celebrities that have been behind bars before. So I don't know. Can you guys name any of these guys?
Who would have ever thought that Snoop Dogg would be on that list?
Yep, Snoop Dogg's there.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, neither am I. Justin Bieber, Mel Gibson. I think this is Hugh something. I can't remember his name exactly. There's kind of some older ones. Actually, that's Robert Downey Jr., I think, right there. So, no, that's not Hugh Jackman. That's his last name's Hugh. I can't remember his name. That one right there.
Wait, but wasn't I think I've heard before that like Justin Bieber was arrested for like drug charges in Canada.
Possibly, yeah, and that might be what the mugshot's for, right?
Yeah.
So everybody, even the stars, right? You know, sometimes get and go behind bars at some point in time. Okay. All right, so this is gonna right here. This video that we're gonna watch, it has kind of the history of the prison system, and so it's a brief, like 2 minutes, where you can just kind of see the development of where we've kind of led and where we've been on the prison system, and then we're gonna go over specific things within the prison system. So let's watch this. All right. I know they went super quick on that video, but it's not something. Yeah, that's just the way it was made. It was made super quick. But it's, I think I might have went too far. Oh wait, let me go back. Okay. But what that kind of gave you a little bit of a history of prison systems. Okay. So there's 4 kind of types of theory. Okay. And I want you to think, because we're going to have a little conversation upon this, about which ideology that you kind of fall into the most. Okay. We have the first of retribution, and we'll talk about what that is. We also have deterrence, so not to commit the offense again. Then we have one of rehabilitation, and then we have custodial. Okay. And we're going to talk about those 4 and what they mean, and then we'll kind of have a discussion on them. And hint, hint, this may be on your quiz, all 4 of these. Okay. So pay attention. Okay. So retribution. Okay. So those who support this goal feel that people who break the law do so on purpose and deserve to be punished. Okay. So this is kind of like the subject, like an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. If you kill somebody, you should be killed, right? And so it's something of getting justice. There's some type of justice that needs to kind of come into play for it. Okay. So that is what retribution is. Okay. The next one is deterrence. Okay. So what we're saying is the penalty should exceed the true value of the crime in order to show that people that the crime does not pay. Okay. And so punishment needs to be made public. So what you're doing is, for example, they're in a youth court. This was somewhere in the South. a sentencing from a judge from a young person that was about 16 years old, I believe, is he had to stand outside with a sign that said something like what he did. Like, I got accused of shoplifting, and he had to basically hold that sign on a busy street for so long. Okay. So basically, that's doing is they're saying, hey, this is a punishment we're giving you that will hopefully decrease your behavior in the future. Okay. So
Is that similar to like the scare method, to where they'll just scare people to not want to do it anymore?
exactly, yeah, that's what they're trying to do. They're
Or
trying
put
to
fear into their eyes so they won't want to do the stupid stuff?
exactly. So you're trying to put like fear into the person to say, look, we're going to do this. They're also making it public, as it says before, and making it public is kind of using that humiliation tactic, saying, look, this person did that. Let's make sure that they're not going to do it again. Okay. Okay. Another one, okay, is called rehabilitation. Okay. It's considered to be the most humane policy. And the purpose is to change the guilty party so that they no longer need to commit the crimes. Okay. So a lot of offenders, what happens is they become addicts of, drugs, alcohol, um, other type of addictions, stuff like that. And then what they do is they go into the system. And so instead of basically deterring them from doing it, we rehabilitate them, right? We show them another happiness in life besides getting high, or we show them all these kind of things. And so we're really working on almost like mental health behaviors. Um, yeah, these are real people, and they're actually, I think all of these are celebrities too.
Could I could I say my opinion on the idea of the rehab?
Well, we're gonna have a little collaborative thing on Nearpod in just a second, where we're gonna explain which one we think is the best and explain. So you just want to wait for a second, then we can do that. Okay, the next one is custodial. It's the goal is not concerned with the cause of the crime, nor is it any effect on the change of the criminal. Okay, so it's basically saying we're going to lock you up because that's how, what the thing. So for example, okay, so we kind of talked about there's certain laws written in the books that if you do this, right, you have to serve a minimum sentence of this time, right? And so what we're doing is we're just putting them into the system, figuring out that, you serve your time and then you're done with it. Okay. So that is custodial. I probably didn't explain that very well, but that's all right. So what we're going to do now is the question that we're going to put on the collaborative board, okay, is what theory do you support the most? Retribution, deterrence, rehabilitation, or custodial, and why? Okay. So here's to kind of mark your opinion of what you think. Okay. So I'll kind of read those as we come out. Okay, rehabilitation. So can you tell me why? Yeah, make sure you get that why. Rehabilitation. Everyone has a chance in life, and we need to treat everybody with care. Good. The next one, rehabilitation, because it gives them change to prove that they can change. Okay. What if we go through rehabilitation and again and again and again and again, right? And they never change. So that's the second thing. It gives them a second chance. It gives them a chance to change. Okay. Rehabilitation because it's considered a more humane way. Yep. Rehabilitation. Okay. I think we have a lot of rehabilitation here. I think that is somebody. All right. What about somebody do you think so somebody said the fear factor. Okay. What if somebody did such a gruesome crime, right? You know, they're a serial killer, right? And basically, what do you do with them, right? Can you rehabilitate somebody that's that far crazy, right? In a way, everybody should have another chance and redo. Okay, custodial because it gets clean up the world. Yep, and also rehab because it gives a second chance. Okay, good. Custodial, think before you do something wrong. If you screw up, you deserve it. Okay. What if you? So here's an example of that. Okay. So let's say I was driving my car, and this is really sad. And I'm a driver's ed instructor, so I feel really, really kind of strongly about this. So let's say you're driving your vehicle and you hit a person and you kill a person. Okay. And you're charged for that crime. Okay. Because you would be, right? They could charge you with manslaughter or something to that effect. Okay. Especially if you're being negligent, you were on your phone, something like that. I think the minimum 5 years in prison for manslaughter, right? Mistake, right? So kind of got to think about it. Every situation is kind of like, okay, so somebody says it depends on specific situations, but overall, I would say rehabilitation. Everyone deserves another chance. Okay. I like that. You know, I think whoever posted that, they're really good because it's hard. Each situation's a little bit different. What about vehicular homicide? I think vehicular homicide, you have did it. There was intent to run somebody over, right? So that would be vehicular manslaughter, or not manslaughter, but homicide. The theory I support most is deterrence, okay? Because when you enforce the aspect, and that's a lot of, we deal with a lot of rule-governed behavior is what it's called, okay? We do not do something because we know that other people have experienced that stuff and we don't want it to happen to us, right? We do not sell drugs because we know it could take us behind bars. We don't do this because we know this, right? So deterrence is kind of a good method, right? That fear factor, as you guys have kind of said. Custodial and rehab are the ones I would support, okay? Depending on how bad the crime is, that kind of stuff. I don't think serial killers should get rehab. They know what they are doing, and then you keep it again, okay? Except people deserve a chance. Very good. Some very good comments. Sorry, I didn't get to all of them, but I think this is just something to think about, right? As you're going through, I guess, life and stuff like that. And you're probably going to run across the legal system at some points in time, right? Because, I mean, just getting a traffic ticket, you know, you become a victim, right? It doesn't mean that you have to be like the perpetrator. Okay, let's talk about some more things as we're going through. Okay, one, adult and parole, adult probation and parole. Okay, the APMP provides a pre-sentence report. Okay, so this is the parole officer. Okay, a pre-sentence report to the court when a defendant is awaiting sentencing. Okay, they are accountable to the sentencing by the judge. And so parole, just so you guys know, is you've served some time and you're saying you can go out, but you have to check in. You may be monitored some way. There's a lot of kind of stuff. So Utah Board of Pardons and Parole, they're the ones who grant parole to inmates, okay, usually for good behavior, for doing what they're supposed to as they've been in imprisonment. Okay, let's move on to prison life. Okay, the key element of prison experience is the classification of incoming inmates. This is a systematic process of a new inmate by establishing a program of treatment and indicates the privilege to be allowed and the restrictions to be imposed. Most inmates are given a job in the prison and are paid a small wage. However, inmates are not allowed to keep money and are given an account what the prison can oversee. Okay, and so they can purchase other things with this thing. So depending on your crime depends on where you go. I bet you've kind of heard of like maximum security prisons. Okay, so that would be if you had a very violent crime or something like that. And then you also have some like, so somebody said Alcatraz. Yeah, it's not really used but anymore. But then you also have like lower security prisons where it's somebody that's non-violent, they've gone there, and it's more of just not leisure, but you're there with some other people that have committed non-violent crimes, right? And sometimes those maximum security prisons, those are the where you hear some of the stuff. So as you're in prison and everything, you get visitation is considered a privilege, which can be disallowed or limited as if needed. Okay. Guards operate the prison, but much of the day-to-day operations is handled by inmate trustees. Okay. So basically, the prison system, you have the guards, you have the warden of the prison, but a lot of the daily tasks, right, are given to the prisoners to do, and they need to do their job, and they get that little pay for it. So prison rules, okay? There's some things that, you must bathe thoroughly with soap and water at least 3 times per week. Another thing, there's like tattooing is prohibited, okay? So you're not supposed to get needles and stuff and make your homemade tattoos, which doesn't sound fun. I don't know why you do that, but homemade tattoos, no. Prison tattoo. Okay, shakedowns is what it's called, okay? Inmates and their property may be searched at any point in time under any condition with or without the inmate's presence, okay? So that's something, you said you want a prison tattoo. I hope not. I'm pretty sure it would not be a very good looking tattoo, say that. But they have their
Well, my cousin has a few of those. I mean, he's not necessarily the smartest person in the world. Yeah, they're pretty ugly.
Yeah. Well, we all do some dumb things at points in time. So
yeah.
But anyways, so they waive their rights are taken away, their constitutional rights of like unlawful search and seizure. So they can be searched anytime, and they'll create all kinds of things in there. Weapons, drug paraphernalia, all kinds of stuff. So some trends that are happening in the prison system. One, they usually have uniforms. It's not going to be like the ones you saw back in the early 19 and late 1800s with the the pinstripes. I guess they're not pinstripes, but they're the stripes across with the white and black. Usually they have some type of orange that they wear or something to identify them. But another trend that they're going towards is getting them out of the jail and doing community service, okay? And using them to try to kind of do something good. Yeah, bright orange, right? You may see that on there. So day fines, okay? An individual who has received a fine would pay the proportionate amount of specific portion of his wage. So there could be fines that they get, so they're unable to get things. So one of the high things that they can get, I think, in prisons are cigarettes that they really want, right? And so if you're money and you can't afford them, right? So it's kind of trying to teach them a little bit of social skills if they get into the real world. When they get in the real world, they can budget a little bit, and that consequences have actions, right? And that's they're kind of showing them. Okay, the size and location of correctional institutions. Okay, future jails and prisons will probably be much smaller. Okay, but future prisons will be located in cities and suburbs where the inmates can locate a job, find recreation and schooling, and maintain family ties. Okay, so that's something they found out, that appropriate relationships outside of prison, right, with family or something like that, gets, yes, yeah, they get all humanitarian products in there, for your question, Ronnie. Their healthcare needs are met, right? There's doctors, nurses that come in and attend to them if needed. They get all their hygiene products, that kind of stuff. It used to be like in the history, when they threw in the whole of boats and stuff like that, it used to not be that way. So, restoration of offender rights. Okay, so after years of good behavior, released offenders can vote, run for office, and erase conviction records. Okay, so there are some things that prohibit you from voting and stuff like that, but you can over time restore basically your rights that you had. Okay, but you got them taken away because you went to prison. Okay, prisoner rights, a couple other things. Prison officials cannot open letters addressed to an inmate's lawyer. Okay, an inmate can be prohibited from having long hair. A cell can be searched at any time for any reason, and the prison is not required to pay inmate minimum wage. Okay, so as we said, they get a small wage and stuff like that. They're not required to follow minimum wage requirements. Yeah, the last slide was, oh brother, where art thou? Okay, capital punishment. Okay, and so this will kind of lead to our next discussion. We kind of talked about the PETA thing. Are you in favor or opposed to the death penalty, and why? Okay, so this may be a little bit of discussion here. Okay, so kind of be sensitive to the topic because I know it is kind of a political subject. So are you in favor or opposed? Favor because some people are horrible. No, okay, good. It depends on the crime, yep. So this kind of goes back to the retribution, the eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, right? A life for a life. I think it depends. Nope, it depends. How many times? Nope. I'm opposed in most cases, but I believe in some cases, okay? In extreme cases, yes, some people are truly evil. You do some case studies into some of these criminals, and yes, there are some very, very disturbed people. Opposed, depends on the crime. Okay. All right. Okay. What you guys need to do, you guys can keep chatting on here for a little bit, but what you need to do is you have your quiz. Okay. Remember that you need to do Unit 6 quiz, and then catch up on anything. This will be our last class. As I said, if you want to take more criminal justice classes, we'll be having some next year. We'll hopefully be opening up a couple more, and you can do part 2, 3, and even 4. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. I'll stick around for any questions and answer you in the chat there. Thanks, everybody.